now to one of your former teammates, Big Perk, Kevin Durant, someone whose Brooklyn Nets currently do not have a Christmas Day game at this juncture. Ramona just talked about that. It's been 5+ weeks since the trade demand was heard around the world. What's next in this saga?
So the biggest question that all of us have is Kevin Durant willing to take this to the next level? Okay, the next level would be not showing up to training camp. And Matt, I was there when Kobe Bryant did this back in 2007, and I remember standing in the parking lot at the Lakers training facility, and none of his teammates knew if he was going to show up, and all of us were wondering if he was going to show up. He showed up and he played, and I think that's the expectation with Kevin Durant too, because say whatever you want about Kevin Durant, that man loves playing basketball, and it's hard to see him sitting out. But everybody I talked to and what the conversations we've all been having the last week or two is, do you think Kevin will really sit out or really not show up to training camp, pull a Ben Simmons, if you will, to force the issue here and get the Nets to lower their asking price and just trade him? I don't see it. I think he loves basketball too much, but that's what's next here. And I think if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you're playing this game of, last week I said on this show, they saw that last meeting as all part of the process, right? In other words, Kevin needed to be heard. They needed to hear him. They need to listen to what he was saying and try to take some action to make him feel better about it. And I think the resounding takeaway from that is there a way that they can make it so that he feels like this wasn't all for naught, that whatever his complaints were, or whatever he is feeling needs to change with that franchise is going to at least try to change or change. And let's see, they have until September 26th, until Media Day, to figure that out.
I mean, I think he showed us nothing but, when he's there, he's going to play. So I highly doubt he's going to miss time. This is just a tough situation for both sides. I mean, obviously, the Nets are invested, at the end of this contract, they'll be invested over $350 million into Kevin Durant with only one playoff victory. It's really been up and down since this team has really kind of been put together, and I think they kind of want to see what they have going on. So I don't see him moving, and I also see him there playing. Now, will it be disgruntled? May there be some issues? Could be. The one thing that is interesting to me, though, is you never really hear Kevin talk about management or coaching. You'll hear him talk on Twitter, you'll hear him talk about himself or, defend himself or talk, but you never hear him talk about management and coaching. So to me, this is interesting. I think if they had a little bit more leverage from a standpoint of maybe they've won or they've gone to the conference finals or even won a championship, you may have that kind of leverage where you can say, hey, I don't like this coach or I don't like this management. But I think the fact that they haven't really got a chance to win yet and really played more than 30 games together, to try to pick off the head coach and the GM, I think that was a big bite, and it probably would have left a sour taste around the league from a management standpoint. So I think that's why, Joe took a hard stance behind management and coaching. But at the end of the day, all these guys are going to have to try to put this aside and play, because I don't think any of those guys on that team are going anywhere.
So, Perk, is there a middle ground? I mean, to Matt's point, he's asking GM and head coach. Are there some things that can be changed where Kevin still feels like it's a win for him?
No, I think he has to get traded. Here's the thing that's confusing to me, right? We're talking about Kevin Durant. We're talking about a.k.a. KD, Easy Money Sniper. He calls himself the God. And now I'm starting to question a little bit the power of Kevin Durant. And I always talk about this. Do you want to be popular or you want to be powerful? KD asked for a trade about 5 weeks ago and said he wanted out. Okay, he didn't move the needle. All of a sudden, Kevin Durant comes back, and now he asks for it. He gives Josiah an ultimatum and say, you know what? It's either me or Sean Marks and Steve Nash. He still don't move the needle. Now, all of a sudden, there's speculations that he might consider retiring. So all of a sudden, he has to move the needle to that aspect. So I'm trying to see right now, does KD really have the juice that he think he has? Because if he did, he wouldn't have to go through all these necessary steps to get what he want. We're talking about arguably the greatest scorer to ever play the game of basketball. Right now, we're talking about arguably the best player in the NBA. We're talking about a guy right now, in my opinion, who is a top 20 player, who's the top great of all time. And he has to go through all this just to get what he wants in a franchise. Is kind of concerning, and I'm confused about the whole situation.
So who should budge, though, Perk? Like, who's the side that budge? Is it the Nets that budge and take less than what they think he's worth? Or, like, how does this resolve?
I mean, if you're the Nets, to me, I feel like, look, you got to get rid of Kevin Durant at this point because you look at the front office. I mean, Kevin Durant really haven't been in communication with the front office of the Brooklyn Nets. I understand Rich Kleiman, he's been the guy that's been the middle person and being the spokesman, but how can you resolve this? If you're going to keep Steve Nash and Sean Marks, there's no way you could bring back Kevin Durant after he just called for their job. So in my opinion, the Brooklyn Nets is going to have to take less, which is not going to be bad at all. They're still going to get back some pieces and draft picks, and you got to move on from KD.
We could continue to have this conversation all day long, and to Ramona's point, we need to figure out something before Media Day comes.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.